Out cold. Dana White cancels UFC 324 after Paddy Pimblett's store attack. Imagine waking up and seeing a headline so wild it feels like a prank, yet every major MMA page is running with it. A single night, a single incident, and suddenly an entire UFC event is wiped off the calendar. That is the kind of chaos that only combat sports can deliver, where momentum flips faster than a knockout punch. Today's story matters because it shows how fragile massive fight cards really are, how star power can tilt the whole machine, and why one unexpected moment can freeze an entire promotion in its tracks. This is not just gossip. This is about how the UFC operates when pressure hits hard and fast, and why fans need to understand what really goes on behind the scenes when the lights suddenly go out. The shockwave. The first reaction across the MMA world was disbelief, the kind where people refresh their feed thinking the post will disappear. UFC 324 was supposed to be locked in, stacked, and ready to roll, yet one headline turned excitement into confusion overnight. Events like this do not just vanish without consequences, and that is why this moment hit so hard. Fans had flights booked, fighters were deep into camp, and the promotion had already poured millions into hype. When something this big collapses, it sends a message that no card is ever truly safe until the cage door closes. The store incident. At the center of the storm was Paddy Pimblett and an off-cage situation that exploded far beyond anyone's expectations. What started as a localized moment quickly became global news, amplified by phones, clips, and non-stop speculation. Paddy has always carried attention wherever he goes, and this time that spotlight burned a little too bright. The important part is not the drama itself, but how fast it escalated and how little time there was to control the narrative once it escaped into the public. In modern MMA, perception moves faster than facts, and that reality shapes decisions instantly. Dana White's call. When Dana White steps in, it is never casual, and this decision showed how seriously the UFC protects its brand. Canceling an entire event is not weakness. It is control, a reset button pressed before things spiral further. Dana has always operated on timing and leverage, and pulling UFC 324 was a signal that stability matters more than forcing a shaky card forward. This move also reminded everyone that the UFC does not gamble with its biggest stages, even if that means short-term backlash from fans. UFC 324 fallout. The aftermath was immediate and messy, with fighters scrambling and fans demanding answers. Training camps do not pause politely, and careers do not wait for clarity, which is why cancellations hit harder than postponements. Still, the UFC has survived storms like this before, and history shows that when one card falls, another usually rises even stronger. The real impact here is how quickly the promotion can pivot, reshuffle matchups, and keep momentum alive without letting uncertainty linger. Paddy Pimblett's spotlight. Paddy Pimblett has always thrived in attention, but this situation pushed that relationship to a breaking point. Being a star means every move carries weight, whether intentional or not, and this moment showed how thin the line really is. At the same time, controversy has a strange way of fueling careers in combat sports, and many fighters have turned darker chapters into defining comebacks. The key question now is not damage, but direction, and how this moment reshapes Paddy's role moving forward. Fighter reactions. Inside the roster, reactions ranged from frustration to quiet understanding. Fighters know better than anyone that the business side can shift overnight, even after months of sacrifice. Some lost opportunities, others gained unexpected openings, and that unpredictability is part of what makes MMA so ruthless. What stands out is how resilient fighters have become, adjusting fast and staying ready because tomorrow's call could change everything again. Fans and media frenzy. The fan response was loud, divided, and relentless, filling timelines with theories and hot takes. Some saw chaos, others saw strategy, and that split reaction only fueled the conversation further. Media outlets leaned into the drama, but beneath the noise was a shared realization that the UFC still controls the chessboard. When attention spikes like this, it keeps the sport trending, even when the news itself feels like a setback. Business and momentum. From a business angle, Canceling UFC 324 was costly but calculated. The UFC has always played the long game, choosing brand stability over short-term profit. Big decisions like this protect future events, sponsors, and global trust in the product. Momentum in combat sports is not just about fights. It is about confidence, and sometimes pulling back preserves that better than pushing forward. The replacement puzzle. When an event disappears, the next challenge is filling that vacuum without losing credibility. The UFC now sits in that familiar but uncomfortable position where every possible replacement card gets judged before it even exists. Fans want something just as explosive, fighters want clarity, and the promotion wants control over the narrative again. This is where behind-the-scenes negotiations heat up fast, with short-notice fighters suddenly becoming headline options and long-term plans getting reshuffled quietly. These moments often create unexpected stars because pressure forces bold choices, and the UFC has a long history of turning disruption into opportunity when timing is tight. Star power economics. One overlooked angle in this situation is how much a single name can tilt an entire event. UFC 324 was not just a lineup of fights, it was built around momentum, personalities, and market pull. When one major figure becomes unstable in the public eye, the ripple effect hits sponsors, broadcasters, and global promotion plans. The UFC understands that star power is not only about talent, but about reliability. And this situation exposed how quickly value can shift. It is a reminder that fame in MMA is powerful but fragile, and managing it is just as important as winning inside the cage. Locker room reality. Behind closed doors, moments like this reset priorities for fighters across the roster. Some see lost paydays, others see new paths opening that were not there a week earlier. Short-notice bouts have launched careers before, and everyone knows it, which adds a quiet tension that fans never see. Preparation becomes mental as much as physical, because adaptability often separates those who stay stuck from those who surge forward. The locker room does not stop moving just because one event collapses. It recalibrates and waits for the next green light. The UFC brand machine. At the end of the day, this situation reinforces how calculated the UFC really is when chaos strikes. Canceling an event feels dramatic on the surface, but it is often a strategic pause rather than a breakdown. The promotion has built its empire by controlling timing, narrative, and expectations, even when fans are frustrated in the moment. History shows that when the UFC goes quiet briefly, it usually comes back louder. If this breakdown added value to how you see the sport, support the channel by liking the video, subscribing for consistent insight, and dropping your take in the comments so the discussion keeps moving forward. This entire situation is a reminder that MMA lives on the edge of unpredictability, and that edge is what keeps fans locked in. Chaos, control, stars, and split-second decisions all collide in this sport, creating stories no scriptwriter could plan. If this breakdown helped make sense of what really happened, make sure to show support by liking the video, subscribing for more deep dives, and sharing thoughts in the comments. The conversation does not end here, and staying connected means staying ahead of the next shockwave.